Hey guys, what's going on? NGS back again to bring you the finale of my E3 2013 wrap-up extravaganza. Now that I think about it, I really can't call it a finale considering I've only done one other video. Unless you count the Sony conference, but I don't think people can really call that a wrap-up. Unless it was the fastest wrap-up in the world. So, let's call it a conclusion and call it a day, people. This video is also brought to you in part by my purple and gray striped sweater. It's kind of looking Freddy Krueger-like. It's purple and gray. It's looking Freddy Krueger-like. It's snug. And it's the best time to wear a striped sweater. You can't use striped sweater in a sentence without going back to that damn SpongeBob episode. Come on, people. You just seriously can't. But anyway, in this video, what I'm going to be going over are the various conferences from the publishers who I didn't get a chance to appear on YouTube and talk about. Of course, if you follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/NeoGameSpark, then you know, of course, that I've tweeted everything that I possibly could about E3, and I've only gotten Twitter blocked once. Twitter blocked is essentially where you tweet so much that you go over the daily limit and they essentially lock you off from Twitter. That only happened to me once. The only other times that I've been Twitter blocked have been during the February 20th reveal of the PS4, as well as the Super Bowl this year. So throughout the course of E3, Twitter blocked only once. I say that's a win in my book. But what did I think about this E3 conference? Overall, I gotta say this was the best E3 that we have seen in years. I was very excited to see what all of the various console manufacturers as well as publishers are bringing to the floor this fall as well as years to come. And I was certainly glad to see there was none of that BS repetition that we've seen time and time again from other E3 conferences. Last year is a perfect example. While we did see some interesting titles, a lot of them for the most part fell into the don't care about it or more of the same category. But this year's E3, a lot of potential has been realized and a lot of potential has been set. But let's just do a quick wrap up of Microsoft conference for anyone who hasn't checked out my video on it. Overall, I thought that this was Microsoft's best conference in ages. It was certainly better than last year's, the year before, and the year before that. Because there was no heavy focus on Kinect, and surprisingly, no focus on TVs. Now one would expect from, their last little stunt that they had back in May, that it'd be all TV 24/7. Yeah, man, bro gamers, casual gamers, families for life, man! Thankfully, we didn't see any of that. They kept it strictly gaming, and we saw some interesting titles on there. We saw some new IPs, we saw some continuing franchises, and overall I gotta say that Xbox One has a pretty decent lineup this fall as well as into next year. When it comes to exclusives, I think that Microsoft has shown the most exclusives, but Sony has the most exclusives in development. Now, it remains to be seen the quality of both companies' exclusives, who will win the battle of exclusives in the F-generation console war. That's something that fanboys will have to go over in the YouTube comment sections and troll each other over for days to come. But when it comes to exclusives, Microsoft is certainly packing the heat. Basically, more than they've ever done within the past 4 years of Xbox 360's life. Now, while there was some good things to the conference, there was also an equal amount of negative. First and foremost, there was no talk. They didn't even utter a word on the policies surrounding Xbox One, all of the controversies that have been coming out towards it. When non-gaming sites report on a daily basis about said controversies, you know there's a problem, Microsoft. You know there is. And by them not even uttering a word, keeping everything hush-hush, I think that confirms all of our fears. That the Xbox One will be always online. You have to do the 24-hour check-in. It won't support used games. And you're going to be unable to play your games offline if you want to exceed 1 hour anyway. Those are really big factors in determining whether or not I purchase the Xbox One or not. And I could have gotten on here and ranted my brains off about these policies, but really, everybody's done it already. So at this point, it's getting kind of redundant. However, what I wanted to do was not justify these policies, but looking towards why Microsoft is doing them. Because it's easy to say that, oh, they're greedy and they're just corporate BS and all this stuff. But when you look at it from Microsoft's point of view, they don't care. They just don't care whether or not you have the right to buy used games or not. Why? Because it's not making them money. It seriously isn't. Hypothetical situation right here. Let's take one of the most anticipated games for the year, Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs is available on damn near every platform you could think of. And thankfully, the Wii U as well. Because damn near every platform you could think of usually excludes the Wii U. But let's say Watch Dogs on PlayStation 4 sells 500,000 units. Let's say that Watch Dogs on the Xbox One sells 250,000 units. That's a pretty big gap. When it comes to Microsoft, they're looking towards the PlayStation 4 version. They see that it's sold this many units, but they believe there is a pretty high number of units of that Watch Dogs that are being circulated through the used game market. Amazon, GameStop, mom and pop shops, giving to a friend, selling it back to them. All of that is going on, and Microsoft's not gaining any money. So even though the PlayStation 4 version outsold the Xbox One version, Microsoft knows that every single copy of Watch Dogs for Xbox One, they're going to generate revenue. And they're not going to lose revenue on any other copies sold. That's it. At the end of the day, yes, they don't care about used games. All they care about is profit. But it's that security that they want. You see, because when you limit things, it's easier for you to control as opposed to broadening things, which is what Sony's doing. So when it comes down to the Xbox One, whether or not you buy it or not, it's not going to come down to the franchises. It's going to come down to how much you love those franchises and how much you really don't give a damn. It's not going to come down to, I want to play the next game starring Master Chief. It's how much you love Master Chief to want to go through all of these policies. That's just what it is. So for the remainder of time, I'm not going to be picking up an Xbox One anytime soon. Not this year, not next year. We'll see what happens when the policies change in the future. But the one thing I'm worried about is that if I buy this system, am I really going to be able to play this 10 years down the road? And don't say that, oh, you're just looking in the long term. You're not thinking about the short term and having fun now. I like to play some of these systems 5-10 years later. I still whip out my PS2. I still whip out my N64. I still whip out my SNES. I still play those systems. Are we going to be able to play those systems? 15 years down the road, can I go on eBay and purchase an Xbox One? And oh, god dang. Son, come back! Son! Oh. Well, it's coming back soon. It's coming back now. Thank you, son. Am I going to be able to go on eBay and purchase an Xbox One? I can certainly go on eBay and purchase a Super Nintendo. All I need are the games. But for Xbox One, what happens when they shut down the servers? Problems. So many problems surrounding the Xbox One. Whether or not you buy it, it's up to you. I'm not going to say you shouldn't buy it. I'm not going to. But hey, it's all up to you at the end of the day. Now, moving on to the publisher conferences, EA and Ubisoft. I didn't really catch much of EA's conference, simply due to the fact that EA really doesn't have anything enticing me. However, I want to draw some attention to Star Wars Battlefront. That's the one thing that everyone is just jizzing in their pants. Oh my god, we're getting a new Battlefront game after like 8 years. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, whoa! Now, I've played the other Battlefront games, and they are freaking awesome. But I'm not really going to get too excited on this. Yeah, we know the game is in development, but really, y'all are getting hyped over a 30-second teaser? I mean, seriously, they could have got on there and just said Star Wars Battlefront, and that's what would have gotten people hyped. The game is being developed by the original guys, I believe it was Pandemic, since they were closed down. It's being handled by DICE. And now, I love DICE. I think DICE makes some great games. But if Star Wars Battlefront is just going to be Battlefield-esque explosions with a Star Wars skin on it, you know, the depth that I've had and the reasons why I still play the Battlefront games, if that's not going to be present in this generation of games, I don't know. You see, that's my biggest problem with them reviving these franchises under different developers and such. I mean, yeah, they revive them and it's great to see them. You play it, it's fun. But you see that you're playing that game less and less than you did the older games. And you could chalk that up to, well, when you were a kid, you didn't have much to play and it was just all nostalgia and all that stuff. But there is something going around, there is lack of depth going on in video games. Not seeing layers going into these games. We're seeing the bare minimum and nothing more. So with Star Wars Battlefront, I'm not going to write it off, but I'm not going to get excited on it till I see more gameplay for it. And as far as Ubisoft is concerned, their conference was good, but it was very familiar. Very familiar to last year's. And you know, people are saying, how in the world could you think that last year's Ubisoft conference was better than this one? Well, because last year's Ubisoft conference was kind of cool. All this stuff that we saw this year, they showed off last year. South Park, Rayman, Watch Dogs. We all saw that stuff last year. And while they all look great, especially Watch Dogs, I'm tired of seeing Watch Dogs. We've seen so much Watch Dogs. We saw it at freaking Ubisoft's conference. We saw it at Sony's conference. We saw it at almost every conference there. Like a good half of the conferences. Watch Dogs was there, being awesome. It does look great, by the way. One of my more anticipated games for this fall. But it was just very safe. Most of the stuff we've already seen. I mean, yeah, they showed off The Crew, which looks great. They showed off Assassin's Creed 4, which looks just like Assassin's Creed, so, you know, what reason is there to get hyped? And then they debuted their brand new title, Tom Clancy's The Division. And the way I could chalk this up is, while I don't know much about it, I mean, it's a third-person shooter RPG with a fancy interface, you do damn well know that this was the game that they brought to be the Watch Dogs of E3 2013. They want to get that bump. And as everyone will tell you, oh my freaking god, what is it with these games like Watch Dogs and freaking The Division? Oh my god. These games, the way they're introducing them, they're just doing this whole, oh my god, the world is going to explode, everything is horrible, and they do a really in-depth timeline of the way things are going to happen. These aren't games. These things are meant to freak the fuck out. Government propaganda going around. Oh my god, man. And everyone was wondering for the longest time, what the hell kind of game is this? Because it was like 3 minutes straight of that trailer. But yeah, Ubisoft's was good, but it just felt so been there, done that. We're going to play these games when we play these games. If it wasn't for the delaying of Rayman Origins, so it could be a multiplat, and if it wasn't for the financial problems of THQ, we probably would have had Rayman and South Park The Stick of Truth, which I still want to see what this gameplay is going to be like. I mean, I love South Park, I love Matt and Trey, but I don't know how the hell this game is going to play. We'll just see. We'll just see. Now that we've gotten those out of the way, let's move on to talk about Sony and Nintendo. I'll start first with Sony. Now, Sony's conference, I think, out of all of them, was the best. It was the one that was executed, I think, the best out of all of them. But at the same time, there was an equal amount of disappointment going around. And that disappointment pretty much was 60% of the conference. Because the conference started out talking about the PlayStation Vita. The PlayStation Vita is fucking dead on arrival from Sony. This thing is done. Sony is showing that they are not supporting this thing at all. What are they bringing out for the Vita this year? Nothing. Tearaway? That's it? Tearaway. That's the one thing to get people excited for the PS Vita. Where are the must-have titles for the PlayStation Vita? There are no fucking must-have titles. The way I see the PlayStation Vita is the way I see the Wii U. You could purchase a Vita or a Wii U, but there are no must-have titles that say, hey, I want to go out and get that system. The Vita has games like Uncharted and Gravity Rush and Persona 4 Golden, but I ain't purchasing a system for those damn games. I'll purchase the system and I'll buy those games. Same thing for the Wii U. I ain't purchasing in the system for Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. I ain't purchasing the system for Wind Waker HD. If I buy the system, I'll play those games. But the Vita, I don't even know. Sony has even lost faith in the Vita. I think what their main point on what they're using the Vita for, two things. They want to use it as a platform for indie developers, and they want to use it to fit the PlayStation ecosystem. Because once Gaikai rolls around next year, they're going to be able to stream your PlayStation 3 games to the Vita. Which would be pretty freaking awesome, I gotta say. But as far as core support for the Vita, I don't want this thing to be a PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4 portable. I want core games for the Vita, and we're not getting anything. Walking Dead? Wow, we're porting the game that's been on every fucking platform to the freaking Vita. Great job. You know, there was a time and place when we could all joke about the 3DS getting ports, because that's all the 3DS got for the most part for its first year. But man, the Vita is still getting ports, man. It's just like, oh god, give us some original titles. And no price cut. No price cut from Sony. What are you doing? Who the fuck is gonna buy this thing? Nobody. Not with a price cut. You see, they dropped the price in Japan and those Japanese people went crazy for the Vita. And you can see that they're working on shit in Japan for the Vita. Because of the price cut. People are interested in it. But now? Nope. Not over here. Not over here. And the way I look at it, if Sony is not going to capitalize on the Vita at some point, they got to do a Vita showcase in order to rejuvenate people. The most worth I'm going to get out of my PITA, well, I'm going to get out of my PITA, because PS Vita, P-I-T-A from the Vita. Oh, not that PITA, not PITA. Oh, we're for the ethical treatment of animals. Fuck, you're not. You are not. The most worth that I'm going to get on my Vita is probably just going to be Netflix on the go because it has a nice big sexy screen, and whatever niche third-party Japanese RPG comes to Vita. Other than that, nothing from Sony. And then they showed off some PS3 stuff like Last of Us, which literally comes out the same week, but we're going to release a trailer to probably one of the most advertised games of the year. You know, whoa. And Beyond Two Souls, which I still don't know how the fuck that thing's going to be playing. David Cage, the guy is great and all, but man, he might as well just go make a movie at this point. I mean, seriously. The cover of Beyond Two Souls, you know David Cage is fucking dry humping the movie industry. Beyond Two Souls, starring Ellen Page and Willem Dafoe. And you telling me this nigga ain't hard for the movies? Come on now, come on. Game looks good. I'm just interested to see what it's going to play like. I'll see when I pick up the game this fall. But the one thing that just really disappointed me about the conference is that, you know, they didn't show too many major games that we haven't seen before. I mean, we saw Killzone and Drive Club and, you know, those other games at Sony's last conference. But other than that, what, The Order 1886? I don't think that game's coming out for another year or two. We saw Bungie's Destiny for the first time, which looked great. But other than that, there was really nothing major going on in Sony's conference it's just like, wow, man, I need to play these games right now. Right now. We know those games are going to be great. They are must-have titles for the system, which differentiates it from Nintendo's conference. But nothing too appealing. Sony has a lot of stuff in development, however. We know they have stuff in development, unlike Nintendo. Sony has like this amount of stuff that's going to be coming out this year and next year and such, so that's great. But their conference, for the most part, was just decent. Up until like the 60-65% point. Then we get into their talk about Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts 3. Final Fantasy 15, like I said, I do not care that it's a multiplat. The thing's going to outsell the Xbox One version 3-1 in favor of the PlayStation 4. Because we know the audience for Final Fantasy gamers. We know the audience for Square Enix games. It's not on Xbox. It's on PlayStation and Nintendo. But Kingdom Hearts 3 is still another story. Like I said, why did they make this thing a multiplat with PS4 and Wii U? Why didn't they do that? Kingdom Hearts has primarily been a Nintendo-Sony type thing. I mean, they've pretty much got an equal amount of games. It comes to the Xbox One. And I think that's just honestly because that's the most talked about system at the moment. Or it could be the fact that Square Enix does not see much going on the Wii U right now to justify releasing Kingdom Hearts 3. Now, that may change because Nomura said he wasn't ready to reveal Kingdom Hearts 3 when they did. He just said it was necessary. It's necessary business mumbo-jumbo. So, the platform exclusivity to PS4 and Xbox One may change when the Wii U picks up in 2014. Maybe that could change and we could see Kingdom Hearts 3 announced for the Wii U. Because I don't expect Kingdom Hearts 3 to come out till like 2015 at the earliest, maybe 2016. We'll see what happens though. Then we get on to Sony's big thing, which is the announcement that the PlayStation 4 supports used games, no always online connectivity, all that yada yada yada. And while that's great and all, we definitely see that those are not shots, but fucking nukes fired from every corner of the Sony company straight towards Microsoft. I was definitely excited to see that. We shouldn't really get excited for this stuff. As Event Status said, Sony would have implemented this thing had it not been for the immense amount of backlash that Microsoft got. Had it not been for that, they would have gone towards this. Because you remember the designs that came out shortly after the Xbox One reveal? Where Sony was trying to do this sort of thing? You know, it makes a fella think that, had it not been for all of that, oh, snap, maybe we should back away from this stuff. And that's what they're doing. They're embracing the model that the PS3 did, which leaves it up to the developers and the publishers on the type of stuff that they want to implement. Sony is not going to issue a console-wide DRM ban. I mean, not DRM ban, that'd be funny. That's counterproductive. They are not going to issue a console-wide DRM. However, if a publisher wants to introduce the online pass again, which I don't think any are going to do after it's crashed and burned in like a year and a half, I do think that a lot of interesting things are going to happen in terms of how Sony is going to go forward in the future with this. Because as easy it is for Sony to say, we're not doing this, they could retract that statement. Other OS is a perfect example. With Other OS, they touted that thing as, yeah, open, connectivity for PlayStation gamers to do whatever they want with the Linux operating system, took it away because they felt that it made it easy to hack the PlayStation 3. So you really got to be careful when it comes to cheering on these companies and being corporate cheerleaders. You never really should have these companies. You should never say, "Oh my God, thank you," for something that should be expected. You get what I'm saying? Had it not been for people complaining about Xbox One, PS4 would have been a DRM machine. If Microsoft had come out of the gate and said, "We're not doing this, we're not doing DRM," and Sony had done it, come on, people. You know you would have complained about it. You know you would have. And that's the thing. When it comes to these companies, we determine whether or not they make bank. We determine whether or not we buy their system, buy their games, or buy their DLC. So while it's great and all that we're going to be able to do what we want on the PS4, at the same time, guys, don't just say that Sony is the be-all end-all of gaming now. We have to keep these companies up against the wall at every single avenue. Whenever you see BS, call out BS. Don't just sit there and say, "Oh, well, it's going to happen regardless. Oh, man, poor me, humdrum, humdrum." You don't have to support the system. You really don't. You really don't. So that's all I got to say. It was great to see the shots fired towards Microsoft, and you definitely know that the audience got happy. But be careful of Sony in the future. Be careful of all these companies, guys. Don't just sell your soul over to these corporations just because. Don't do that. Don't do that. So overall, Sony's conference, for the most part, was pretty decent, leaning towards good. We know a lot of stuff is in development. They've confirmed that. We didn't see it. We know we're going to see it next year. But still, I was left wanting some more. But in terms of PS4 and what they showed off at the February 20th reveal and here, we know PS4 is going to be a juggernaut in terms of features, in terms of launch games that are going to be system sellers. We know Xbox One is going to be a juggernaut in terms of features and in terms of launch games. We know that. However, the same cannot be said about Nintendo in their conference. Nintendo in their conference is very polarizing to me because they showed a lot of great stuff. A lot of stuff that I want to play being a Nintendo fan. But at the same time, they did not convince anybody to buy a Wii U in 2013. It seems to me that Nintendo's whole goal for the Wii U was not to get you to buy it in 2012, was certainly not to get you to buy it in 2013, but to wait until 2014. That is what I'm getting. That is the vibe I'm getting for the Wii U. They showed Super Mario 3D World, which looks good. They showed Donkey Kong Tropic Freeze. We'll touch on that later. Mario Kart 8, Monoliths X, and Bayonetta 2. All great games for people who want to play it on a Nintendo system. However, these games that are releasing in 2013, Super Mario 3D World, Donkey Kong Tropic Freeze, and Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD, these are not system sellers. These are not must-have titles. Nobody's going to go out there and buy a Wii U for these games. Pikmin 3 and The Wonderful 101. Nobody's going to buy a system. Again, great games. They look like great games. If I had a Wii U, I would buy those games, but they're not must-have titles. They are not. They just simply are not. 2014 is the year for the Wii U in terms of, wow, we can finally have some use out of the system. We got Monolith's game. We got Bayonetta 2. The new Zelda we're going to hear about next year. And Super Smash Bros. Super Smash Bros. Is looking awesome. They added in Mega Man in there. Both 3DS and Wii U. It's looking great. But again, 2013 is not the year for that. 2014 is. Why should anyone feel obligated to pick up a Wii U this year? What has there been for them? Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. That was the only game core Wii U owners played all up until this point. This is ridiculous. And they did not even detail more features for the operating system. Their online service is leagues behind. Not even a price cut. Not even a price cut. So how in the world does Nintendo expect to sell the Wii U Deluxe model at $350, 32 gigabytes with Nintendo Land, up against the PS4, which is $50 more. And the PS4, we know the features that are coming. The features look appealing and enticing. We know the must-have titles for this fall. We know shit is coming next year. Sony, both Sony and Microsoft, they clarified how much stuff that they have in development. We didn't see them, but we know these things are coming. With Nintendo, it's always, please wait. Let's just speculate on what they have developing. Like Uber Hikari says, no frills, just the analysis, people. Nintendo did not hit it out of the ballpark. When they said that they weren't using this E3 conference traditionally, they were going to do it so they could interact with their gamers. No, we know the reason they didn't do an E3 this year, because they felt it was going to be lackluster. But you know what the sad thing is at the end of the day? If Microsoft can get up there and show lackluster stuff for years, why in the world couldn't Nintendo do it? Why wouldn't they? I am starting to question the management that's going on in Nintendo. I really am. They're not trying to get people to buy the system this year, and that is really sad. That really is sad. The 3DS is looking phenomenal, and you would think that Nintendo would have learned from the release of the 3DS. That they had a lackluster launch, and then they announced the price cut, games started coming, boom, instant success. With the Wii U, with that price point, for what you're getting in the system, you gotta wait till 2014? That thing ain't worth buying. It isn't. And don't give me this crap that, oh, you just have to wait for it. I don't buy a system just to wait on what could be. I buy a system just to play the games now. Which is one of the mistakes I made with the 3DS. Bought the system expecting on what it could be, instead of buying it for the games out now, which there weren't any. So the bottom line, people, when it comes to Nintendo, it's a mixed bag for their conference. They had a lot of great stuff. Mario Kart 8 looks fantastic. But at the same time, please understand, 2014, I don't see how they can compete with PS4 and Xbox One. And the sad thing is the denial going on with the Nintendo gamers. Nintendo gamers, seriously? Stop jumping around. You say Nintendo's going to drop bombs at E3. Why is it when you start questioning Nintendo's lineup of games this year, Nintendo gamers jump to Xbox One and their policies? It's like, well, Xbox One and their policies. Stop pointing the fingers. We're talking about Nintendo here. Okay? The bottom line is Nintendo did not entice anyone to purchase a Wii U this year. Next year, I'm getting a Wii U. I want Smash Brothers. I want Mario Kart. I want Monolith's X. But now? No. There's no reason to. I'm wasting $350, which I could be using to buy on the PS4. So, I expect Nintendo to go hard within the next 8 months, the next year. They've got to entice people. Because without a price cut or quality games, no third-party support outside of the few Ubisoft titles, which Ubisoft just announced that they're dropping support for the time being until Nintendo comes out with new stuff to entice people. It's not looking good for Nintendo. And I'm not going to say Nintendo Wii U is doomed, because it isn't. All I'm saying is that they got to shape up. They really have to. For a system that should have launched much earlier in the generation, how could they be so late with the features and the operating system? And just... oh well, we'll see how things fare. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching my E3 2013 wrap-up extravaganza. This one was pretty long, as expected, but, you know, I think that this was the best E3 in ages. We saw a lot of good stuff from Sony and Nintendo, Microsoft, EA, and Ubisoft. A lot of disappointing and waiting for certain people who I've talked about. But, you know, things are definitely shaping up as far as console manufacturers and publishers are going. Now, it remains to be seen the quality of the games and if this trend continues, because maybe it's not the developers that we need to get out of the way. Maybe it's the publishers. Maybe we need to see new publishers come out there and give more creative control to developers. Maybe that's what we need to do. But who knows? Maybe EA, maybe Capcom, maybe these guys will turn it around. We'll just have to see. Well, thank you guys for watching this video. I'm GS signing out, and as always, I will catch you guys later. Peace.